In that very first Monday Night Football game 15 years ago. Joe Willie is here again tonight, but not as a player, rather a broadcaster. We will also talk to a member of the Browns team who was a rookie in that very same first Monday night telecast, Jerry Shirk. He will share his thoughts with us on that game. But now it is time to go back 15 years ago. September 21st, 1970 was the date, and the voice of the original Monday Night Football telecast, Howard Cosell.
It is a hot, sultry, almost windless night here at Municipal Stadium in Cleveland, Ohio, where the Browns will play host to the New York Jets. And here at midfield on the gridiron itself, as we await the opening kickoff, we will see two teams, two of the outstanding teams in professional football, each accorded a chance to reach the Super Bowl, each an Eastern Division champion in its respective league a year ago. Good evening, everyone. I'm Howard Cosell, and welcome to ABC's Monday Night Primetime National Football League television series.
Those words brought Monday Night Football to life some 15 years ago. In fact, that Browns-Jets game is remembered for several firsts. The first time the Browns and the Jets ever played each other. The first game the Browns ever played before 85,000-plus fans, and the first time ABC got a chance to bring us a football game. It all seems fitting that it started here in Cleveland Stadium. No other football field in the country can boast the background and the history that Cleveland's can.
Monday Night Football started as an exciting experiment, and the main volunteer for that project, Browns owner Art Modell.
Crowd of more than 85,000, and there's been something of a ruckus outside as about 500 people really storming. They want to get in to see the ball game, but there's no room for them. And they've had quite a scuffle outside. Certainly impressive to Commissioner Pete Rozelle, who is here tonight as the guest of the Browns owner Art Modell.
There was a mad rush for tickets between 7 o'clock and 9 o'clock that night. I'd venture to say we may have sold between 15,000 and 18,000 tickets during those 2 hours. And people just came out of the woodwork.
Football fans flocked to Cleveland, hoping for a chance to be part of this first Monday night game. The Browns took on the Jets before a record standing room only crowd. But the folks in the Cleveland area couldn't even watch it on TV, since this game didn't sell out until the day it was played. No wonder Browns owner Art Modell had some second thoughts when he volunteered his team and city as host.
Nobody wanted to touch a weeknight game, and I told Rozelle that the Browns would like to try it experimentally, and we did. I had some misgivings about it, but somebody had to play the darn thing.
But Modell was sold on the idea, and once the game started, something clicked. Right now, Monday Night Football is the second longest running show in the history of primetime television. Everybody in sports wants a piece of this prestige and the exposure.
Right now, teams fight to get on Monday night.
And to Modell, the man behind the Browns since 1961, and a big Cleveland booster, a Monday Night Football game means something more.
It's great for the city. There's nothing more important to the city of Cleveland than to have 80,000 people here to show the city at its best, the people and enthusiasm. It's going to be an exciting evening, and of course Pittsburgh coming here doesn't hurt matters.
We'll be talking more about that Pittsburgh-Cleveland rivalry a bit later on Brownstown Monday night.
Right now, though, Doug, we're going to take a look at that first game through the eyes of two men who were there, down on the playing field. You know, it seems ironic tonight that one of the key players in that contest who helped make it so exciting is back here tonight on the game's 15th anniversary.
In just a few minutes, Joe Namath will be wrapped up in his role as a play-by-play analyst for ABC Sports. But turn the clock back several years and you'll find Joe Willie Namath, as he was called, preparing to put it to the Cleveland Browns. Both teams were powerhouses, Super Bowl material. And even now, Joe remembers that game like it was yesterday.
I remember that game, and I hate it. We lost to Cleveland that night. I remember best about that game, other than the fact that we lost, was Emerson Boozer was open the last play that we had the ball, and I missed him. I threw it behind him. A guy, Andrews, I think, was the linebacker for Cleveland. He intercepted it and takes it in for a touchdown. If I'd have thrown a decent pass, we were in the hunt. We could have won the game.
But it was not to be. With less than a minute to go, Namath watched number 52, Billy Andrews, snatch his last chance at victory and run it in for a touchdown.
The final score, the Cleveland Browns 31, the New York Jets 21.
I don't think the New York Jets will ever forget this game.
15 years later, the game remains a big part of this man's life.
Namath told us he's thought about calling the game instead of playing in it for about 10 years. Now for Joe, with a wife and a child on the way, the timing is right.
I know another football legend who played for the Browns in that first Monday night game. He remembers it just as well as Namath does. He's my old roommate and teammate for 12 years, Jerry Shirk. Jerry started his pro career in that first contest. He told Steve Craig recently, it's something he'll never forget.
4 years after retiring, Jerry Shirk still cuts an imposing figure as he wades out towards the California sun.
A lot of people, of course, come to the beach and jog here to stay in shape, but 12 years in the NFL have left Jerry Shirk's knees a little too vulnerable for that, so he prefers to take his workout in the surf.
Injuries weren't the problem the night of Jerry's pro debut. The New York Jets were.
They ran at me and they ran at me, and I didn't play all that well. As I look back, I would term it as a pretty horrible game for myself.
Running at Jerry was the Jets' game plan, and Howard Cosell rubbed it in.
The Jets did what Joe Namath told us he was going to do. He was going to keep running right at number 2, Jerry Shirk, the rookie from Oklahoma State. And on that whole drive, Dandy Don, that's what they did.
But Jerry outlasted Broadway Joe.
Al Woodall in at quarterback. He is trapped, and he is dropped, and it's Jerry Shirk, number 72, the big rookie from Oklahoma State, who has gone all the way on defense tonight. He may have learned quite a bit.
He also learned that football played on Monday night has a special edge to it.
You had the feeling that if you got in and you sacked the quarterback 2 or 3 times, that people were going to be talking about you all over the United States and possibly all over the world, wherever it's beamed to, over a bowl of cereal.
But on that first morning after, one headline called Jerry's debut a nightmare.
Really, it wasn't a nightmare for me, even though I didn't play that well. I was playing in the NFL. I was making over $1,000 a game, fresh out of Oklahoma State, and really, I was on top of the world.
Now Jerry's aiming for the top again as a photographer. But judging from his favorite pictures, the years with the Browns will always be part of Jerry Shirk.
Jerry always promised me he was going to make me a centerfold.
We'll look back at some reasons behind our highway rivalry with the Steelers next on Brownstown Monday night.
Across America, that first Monday night game, you could feel the electricity, the excitement on the field and in the stands.
Well, Doug, you can take that enthusiasm and triple it, because the Browns are taking on the Steelers. The fierce rivalry between these two teams from America's industrial heartland is legendary. The Browns-Steelers game traditionally is the highlight of our regular season. No other contest draws as many fans as this one. As long as I can remember, the battle between Cleveland and Pittsburgh has produced some intense showdowns on the field and between the fans of both cities.
In fact, the fighting between the fans is one of the main reasons why we don't see games like this anymore. This is a special Saturday night game between the Browns and the Steelers played on October 5th, 1968. It's easy to see the fierce competition turn into hostility when you take a look back at the game films like this one.
Scuffles like that did not stop when the Saturday night games between Cleveland and Pittsburgh were canceled in 1970. A bit earlier, we picked one fight in particular to talk about with two old playing rivals, my co-host Doug Deacon and his nemesis Jack Lambert. December 18th, 1983, Brian Sipes scrambling along the sideline, shoved out of bounds, and number 58, Jack Lambert, is right in the middle of the fray, and he is given a little shove himself by number 73 of the Browns, Doug Deacon. Jack Lambert and Doug Deacon, I think you personify what the Steelers and Browns rivalry is all about. You played every game to the hilt. What do you remember about that play, Jack?
About that play? Well, I remember 73 coming at me, and next thing I knew, I was down on the ground, and about 3/4 of the Cleveland Browns team was stomping me. I thought I saw a shoe with number 73 on the side of it, but Doug says that wasn't his, so I don't know who else it could have been.
Probably was his, but he wouldn't admit it. I know you recall that play, don't you, Doug?
I recall it as much as Brian's last game as the Browns, and he was trying to win, and he did whatever he could. I mean, he put his body out there knowing that he had a guaranteed contract with the New Jersey Generals. And Jack, as usual, you know, took a shot at him in front of our bench, which I never understood why he used to do things like that.
I was talking to Doug about that earlier today, and I said, he's right, that's a stupid thing to do, but Sipe never rolled out to the Steeler bench. He always rolled out to the Browns bench. It was a smart thing.
Of course, he had all his buddies there, and then turnabout's fair play, because if you ever got a Brown close to the Steelers bench, it'd be the other way around. But that didn't happen too often. Jack, you talk about the Browns and Steelers rivalry. What is it specifically that makes it so great? Is it just geography for openers, the proximity of the city?
Well, I think that definitely, you know, has something to do with it. People can jump in the car and drive to Cleveland or drive to Pittsburgh in 2.5 hours, and it's no big deal. But Doug and I were talking about this earlier, and I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that the similarity between the two cities. I think you know, used to be steel mill towns with the ethnic, hard-working groups, and I think it has a lot to do with it, too.
You feel the same way, Doug? Geography, similarities?
I think, you know, both towns are your basic, just down-to-earth people, and they just enjoy their football. And I think both towns have some of the greatest football fans that you'll ever find. I can remember being in Pittsburgh and thinking we should have won a game and walked outside of the stadium and having a fan say, from Pittsburgh, say, you know, geez, you guys deserve to win. So, I mean, they have great fans over there, too.
Yeah, the fans in both cities really know their football, and of course, the two teams being in the same division, I think that really heightens the rivalry. Jack, when you take a look at a Browns-Steelers game, was it different for the Steelers the week before during practice? Different than, let's say, playing the Oilers or somebody else in the NFL?
Well, I think it was for the veterans. You know, we were aware of the situation. I had to laugh when the rookies first came to the Steelers. The first time they played the Cleveland Browns, they weren't quite sure what all the hoopla was about. But by the time the second game rolled around, they knew what it was all about.
Is there a jinx at Three Rivers Stadium? The Browns have never won that.
Not for the Steelers, there's not.
How about for the Browns?
Maybe Doug could comment on that.
I don't think there's a jinx. I think in the last 15 years, Pittsburgh has had good talent, and our talent sometimes hasn't measured up to theirs.
But it must be frustrating, though, Doug, on behalf of the Browns, because there have been many close occasions, and you just couldn't get over the hump.
It can turn a 3-hour bus ride into about a day.
Nev, we have to thank Jack Lambert and the people at Pittsburgh Station WTAE for calling a truce, at least long enough to tape that interview.
How would you like to have to pick between Pittsburgh and Cleveland? Not too hard for us here. But many people may not know that one of the Browns' key players of the future, the heir apparent for the quarterback slot, Bernie Kosar, was born and raised right in the middle of the Browns-Steelers highway rivalry.
But tonight, Alan DePietro tells us Bernie never had a problem deciding what team he would be loyal to.
November 25th, 1963. Most of us remember that as the day our nation buried a fallen hero, assassinated President John Kennedy. But in Youngstown, Ohio, on that same day, a rising football star, Bernard Joseph Kosar, was born. A year later came Sister Beth, who called him Beansy because she couldn't say Bernie. Beth has always cheered Bernie on from a seat in the stands. She well remembers Bernie as a kid watching his favorite pro team, the Browns, on television in the late 60s, in games like this one against Pittsburgh, where Bernie would talk strategy with his father.
He'd be 6 years old, and he'd be analyzing the game with my father, and it was funny now that I think back about it. This little kid's analyzing a football game, and now he's playing for the team.
Bernie Kosar was just a tyke of 7 when his family moved to this home in Boardman, a home with a huge backyard, a yard big enough for a pint-sized football field. Jim Glenatsis played football on this same field and formed a friendship with Bernie when both boys were 11 years old. Glenatsis knows well what makes Bernie tick.
Pressure never gets to him. I mean, it may, but he won't show it. I say he handles pressure better than anybody I've ever seen.
When Bernie went to play ball at Boardman High, his quarterback coach says Bernie became the franchise.
He's the best passing quarterback this area has ever seen.
Through it all, Bernie stuck behind the Browns. Once during a cold January day in 1981, Kosar bragged to friends how the Browns would win a playoff game quarterbacked by one of his favorites, Brian Sipe.
Into the end zone. Was it intercepted? Oakland intercepted the ball.
With that interception went the ball game and Kosar's patience, especially when friends started telephoning to remind him the Browns lost.
I called Bernie up. As soon as he heard it was my voice, he just hung up on me. Yeah, he doesn't like when Cleveland loses, that's for sure.
So it was no surprise, but pure refreshing, when Kosar was drafted by the Browns. Refreshing he wanted to come and play for Cleveland. His childhood dream come true.
I think the situation is so perfect for me to come back home, though, and play with Cleveland. That opportunity really excites me.
Now at age 21, Bernie Kosar is living his fantasy. A $1 million football player working at Cleveland Stadium, the place he'd visit as a kid.
He likes to win. Just losing doesn't agree with him. He took it very personally when he lost, and he still does that. The Browns were always the front runner, his favorite team.
Football fans have a lot to look forward to during the 1985 Browns season, aside from Bernie Kosar.
And we'll show you next on Brownstown Monday night. Of any team, and tonight Bill Youngkin shows us Browns fans are in for a pat on the back this season.
Who's the real backbone of a team like the Browns? The players? The stockholders? In a way. But without the paying fan, a team just might as well hang it up. The Browns know it. The NFL knows it too. This year, for the first time on a regular basis, teams are going to start saying thank you for fan support. Stadium giveaways at 2 games this season. And guys like Jim White, who's been a season ticket holder for a dozen years, likes the idea.
To give the fans something back, just to show them that you appreciate them, to me, is the most exciting thing that the Browns organization could have done.
Right now, they're handing out pom-poms to every fan for the Pittsburgh game. Free megaphones will be handed out during the Oakland game in October. There are 2 main reasons for the stadium giveaways this year. Number 1, to try and get closer to the fans. Number 2, to try and generate enthusiasm on the field. It actually helps the team. 80,000 pom-poms waving in the stands helps. Jerry Mays says he's seen it before.
So anytime you can get the fans to rally around a team, whether it be the Indians, Browns, or Cavaliers, or whomever, more power to the community, more power to the team.
A new NFL rule allows the giveaways. Yet to come, free Browns hats tied to program sales. David Modell says it's all to say thanks. Not really tied to increasing ticket sales, but he admits it won't hurt.
You know, you have a poster up on the wall, and they're going to be sitting around the house and say, well, what can we do about it? Hey, why don't we go to a Browns game?
How much are these things costing the team? Hardly anything. Corporate sponsors are generally footing the bill for the chance to highlight their name. That's saving the Browns an estimated $250,000 this year alone. Will it help keep ticket prices stable? Modell says it can't hurt. Corporate sponsors are even picking up the cost of halftime fireworks displays. The fireworks and the giveaways all designed to give fans something to remember for a long time, to build friends and supporters of the team. Tom Burns of Minter says the Browns will get 1 new fan this year with the free megaphone giveaway, his 5-year-old who will be seeing his first game.
That'll be nice to see his first game and walk away with a souvenir. That's a nice idea.
Think he'll remember that?
I think he will, yes.
That's what the team is hoping for.
Doug, as you know, the fans provide the support critical to a team's morale. But even they don't know about all the work that goes into preparing for a game, both physically and mentally.
And for that reason, I want to take you behind the scenes to show you what happens right here in the locker room as my former teammates get ready to meet their opponents.
Programs, here, get your program.
On game day, football players are working long before their fans start snapping up programs.
Some players will arrive as much as 3 hours prior to the game, but they must enter the locker room at least an hour and a half before kickoff. Once inside, the players will put their knee braces on, put their pads in their pants, and go into the training room and get their ankles taped. After the training room, players will come in here and make adjustments to their equipment. For example, an offensive lineman will put on double sticky carpet tape so that their jerseys will stick to it and defensive linemen can't grab it. A lot of players come out and walk the field prior to warm-ups. It gives them a chance to check the turf, and it's their only chance to meet the opposition on a more friendly basis. After checking the field, the players will come back in and change their cleats if it's necessary. Long ones for wet turf, short ones for dry turf. An hour and 15 minutes prior to the game, some of the players will come in the wise room here and have a chapel service.
In the time remaining to kickoff, the team suits up, gets a pep talk from the head coach, they pray together, Then they hit the tunnel.
This is the tunnel from the locker room to the playing field. It's here, as guys walk to the field, that they collect their thoughts. Think of what their assignments are. They get this adrenaline pump. It's like a fire burning inside. Once they turn this corner and they see the dugout, it's an emotional explosion, like somebody poured gasoline on them.
And all of Cleveland have a right to be proud, to be a big part of the continuing tradition of Monday Night Football, a game born down there on our field 15 years ago. I'm Doug Dickens.
And I'm Nev Chandler. Good night from all of us here on the Eyewitness News team. Enjoy the game, and let's go Browns.